Welcome back. Baseball may claim it's the national pastime, but the NFL is these days. Jay, look, I think the NFL's popularity means we believe it needs to culturally be with or ahead of the country, not so far behind. But the NFL continually looks like it's much further behind, really, than any other sport.
Well, first, I need to be a little careful here because my law firm represents the NFL in
the league.
Certain matters.
All right.
When I look at those numbers, first of all, the most interesting statistic you put up was the familial connections between and among coaches. I had not seen that before. But when I see those numbers, first thing I think of is 1973. I'm old enough to remember when the league, all the quarterbacks were white. Mm-hmm. And 1973-74 was huge in that all of a sudden the Pittsburgh Steelers had a black quarterback, Joe Gillum from Tennessee State. Mm-hmm. It's Black History Month. And today, depending on how you count, there's something like 10 starting black quarterbacks in the NFL. Progress can be agonizingly slow sometimes around this issue.
You know, Amy, the league's been under pressure before, and they've whiffed on these things. And yet they get away with it because they keep making money and the game's so popular. But look, the league put out a statement admitting that you can't look at one black head coach and say they've succeeded. So they're admitting it. I think they have an ownership problem. Yeah, that the owners, are there any owners of color?
Not right now.
It's all white owners, all of a certain age. It also looks a lot like...
Billionaire Robert Smith is among those that might bid for the Denver Broncos. That could be an interesting development.
Now look at the NBA, which also has most of its players are black players, and yet 40-something% of its coaches are black. So it is possible to do this. There isn't like, oh gosh, it's just too hard to get a pipeline. There's a pipeline there. It's just that there's not the incentive, as you pointed out, and you have to be very intentional about this. So intentionality isn't just putting out a statement saying we have this Rooney rule, so go ahead and interview. Intentionality says, no, we're going to set metrics. We're going to make sure that at the end of each one of these interviews or at the end of each season, we're going to assess this, and that the owners themselves will self-assess and be intentional. That's just not happening.
You know, it's easy to pile on Roger Goodell. People love to jump on him. But this is a case where, now you could say he's been weak in how he did it, Matthew. But he's tried to create incentive like, come on, guys. We got to get better here. We're going to do a second Rooney. Now you got to do 2 interviews. We'll give you a draft pick. They didn't get the hint.
No. And, you know, the NFL, because of the way it's structured, Goodell has only so much leverage over these owners. And at the end of the day, it's the owners who make the decisions and the GMs who they also hire. And so it's going to be a very personal decision. Until you find some leverage or some way to incentivize even further to have more black coaches, I'm very pessimistic about the chances. Because another thing we haven't mentioned, too, is the coaching trees, right?
Yeah, right.
So you have one Super Bowl coach. Yeah. And all of a sudden, all the other teams, they start to hire all of his assistants.
Oh, except with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that didn't seem to happen.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, they had two coordinators that didn't get hired, both African-American, after they won the Super Bowl last year.
So the NFL has a lot to overcome before they have more diversity in the coaching.
You know, Helene, you were comparing the situation to the Premier League and saying, boy, it's stark there, too. And Premier League actually has an NFL owner in it.
They do.
Yeah.
They also have, both the Premier and the Championship League have black coaches as well over in the UK. But the reality is and this is all you could say this about any different corporation, the whole American corporate structure. I mean, this is not just football. This is all, I mean, basketball is a little bit different, but this is a symbol of American society where the wealth is concentrated in the hands of a small percentage of white people. And the only reason why this is so glaringly obvious with the NFL is because we're watching it every Sunday and Monday, and because so many of the players are black.
Well, at the end of the day, go ahead, Amy.
Oh, no, I was saying that's exactly right. It's a structural issue that is not just about one game.
Well, I'll be very curious to see how the Denver Bronco sale goes, because that is an opportunity at a minimum for them to try to at least show at least symbolic acknowledgement of this inequality issue.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.